Hey everybody, I'm Lisa Young Sutton and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I am excited to share a really fun game to play with the cards to strengthen your card vocabulary and intuitive skills. Now you can play this game with any card system and any spread you'd like as long as the cards and spread are sufficient to describe someone's thoughts. Now as you can see here, I'm using Kipper and a box spread for this game, and this is the Mystical Kipper. It's one of my favorites. All right, so how am I reading this box? If you've seen any of my Lenormand box spread videos, you know that I read the flow of energy of a box from left to right and top to bottom. So the flow is moving like that. Okay, I read Kipper boxes in the same way. Now, I personally always want to read left to right. If I have to stop and think and readjust my direction to suit the image, the gaze, of the seeker's image on the card, it stops my intuitive flow. Now, you may be comfortable reading in either direction, but if you're like me, you'll want to choose your Kipper Seeker card so that it's facing right. You can also just choose to ignore the gaze if you still want to read left to right and just always see left as inauspicious and right as auspicious. I will explain those terms in a moment. Okay, now the thing I really love about the Mystical Kipper is that the vast majority of my readings are for women, always have been. So the Seeker's card is typically the lady card. And in this deck, you can see that her body is facing right. She's even walking. She's moving right, but she's turned, glancing back. So she's facing, her face is heading left, her body's heading right. So you can see this as either heading right or left, depending on your purpose. Now, of all the decks I have, I got them out here to show you. Whenever I use the Kipper deck, or the Mystical Kipper deck, and the lady is the Seeker, I always see her as facing right. Okay, her body is heading right. She's moving right. All right, so of all the decks that I have, you can see that all of the lady cards are facing right. Everyone is facing right. This is the original Kipper deck, supposedly. That's what it says on the box. They're all facing right. Well, she's kind of facing forward, but her body is facing right. Except this is Tony's deck. All right, Tony, her deck is the only one where the lady is facing left, but it's still a great deck to read with. It's very clear and very, very fun. I love the images. So I typically just go with that and read right to left, or I may just ignore the gaze. Depends on what I'm doing. All right, it's up to you. It's always up to you. Okay, so what's the process? I called my friend Hannah and I asked her to focus on something, and not a new random thought, but something she spent enough time with that is part of her energetic makeup, right? Something maybe she's thought about her whole life, or like an underlying thought that always surfaces, or just something she's been thinking a lot about lately, because this would be something that would be easy for me to pick up on with the cards. All right, so that's what you want to do. You want to grab a partner and tell them to focus on something, and tell them to take it seriously, right? Tell them to step away from the computer, turn off the phone, get in a quiet space, close their eyes, take a deep breath, and really give all of their energy to thinking about something, all right? Now, I pre-selected the Thoughts card and placed it in the center. This card is typically called His Thoughts. In Chiro's deck, he just calls it Thoughts. But no matter what it's called, this is a unisex card. This card's purpose is that whenever it falls in a small spread or in a grand tableau, it always represents what the seeker is thinking about. Okay, so the surrounding cards will explain what the seeker is thinking about. So it's unisex. It works for women and men. Okay. Now, so notice that the Seeker's card fell in the spread. I did not pre-select it. It fell naturally. The fact that it fell here means that I now have a clear picture of what is auspicious and inauspicious to the seeker. Okay? Now, because I already pre-selected the seeker's thoughts card, the fact that her card fell shows me whether or not what she's thinking is inauspicious or auspicious to her. And remember, all of these cards are behind her back. Okay? Remember, I'm reading her back, not her face. Okay, so these are all behind her back. These are all inauspicious. Okay, now what if her card hadn't appeared? Well, I'd still interpret the cards the same way because I already pre-selected this card. I'd be reading all the cards around as what she's thinking about. But this just gives me more information, the fact that she fell. All right? I like to leave it up to the universe as to whether or not the seeker's card is necessary in a small spread. Because if it falls, I know that it's going to add something that is important for me to know. Okay. So how do I read a Kipper box spread? Well, for the most part, the card position meanings are the same as with Lenormand. The top row is influencing the middle row. The middle row is supported by the bottom row, right? So focus on the center row. The cards above are influencers. They can be thoughts. We can see them as what's weighing on the cards below them, what's out of their reach, or beyond the control of the cards below. That's what cards above mean, okay? The middle row is where we're at now, or the central storyline, and it's supported by the bottom row for better or worse. Don't get hung up on the word support, thinking that it always means something beneficial, okay? You can be supported by a rotten foundation that is not helping you in any way, all right? How do we look at the cards that are underneath other cards? They are what's under control, or what's buried deep within, or the foundation of these cards, which includes traits and characteristics, right? If you're talking about a person, they could describe what are traits and characteristics. Well, they could describe personality and character traits, or what makes up that person, their profession, right? Or their hobbies, or, you know, that kind of thing. All right. So now when we're looking, we have the seeker's card right here. When we're looking at the cards above and below the person's card, we can view the cards above as conscious thoughts and the cards below as unconscious or subconscious thoughts. All right? Okay, so that's how we interpret the rows. Okay, or the cards, well, that's actually columns. That's like the cards above and the cards below. All right, so when I'm reading a row, I read it as a narrative, as a story. Okay, I'm just reading it as a story. We start here, and then this happens, and then it ends here. You know, that kind of thing. All right, now, so let's go back to auspicious and inauspicious. When the seeker's card falls in the spread, the cards behind their back are called inauspicious, and the cards in front of them are called auspicious. So the cards behind are called inauspicious because the seeker isn't facing them, either by choice or not. All right? They can represent what's already taken place. This can represent the past. It depends on what you're asking about, right? They can represent what the seeker doesn't care about, or isn't aware of, or is choosing not to face. Matters that aren't being taken seriously enough, right? Like you're just walking away from them. Or you're not considering them carefully enough. She's turned her back on them. Think of, you know, all the ways you can describe this person's position, and that'll just kind of naturally give you the explanation of what these cards mean. Okay? She's not dealing with these. She's turned her back on them. All right. So generally speaking, you can view the cards behind as those things that require more effort, which then would make the cards ahead as requiring less effort, right? Easy, easier, harder. All right. So the cards in front of the seeker are called auspicious because they represent what the seeker is eager to or ready to face, where they're currently heading. This can represent the future. It's what what will be easier for the seeker to deal with or accept. Okay? They can describe what the seeker is ready to deal with, not just easier to deal with, but what they're ready to deal with, what they're already moving toward. Okay, I think you get it. All right, so because I always read left to right, the columns represent the flow of energy from left to right. Okay, columns are read by looking at the center cards. This is how I read my columns. I look at the center card, and then I look up to see what's influencing them, and I look below to see what they are standing on, what's holding them up. Okay? Now diagonals, right? We have 2 diagonals in a box, so they cut through the entire spread and combine elements of both the rows and the columns. Right? They cut to the chase. The center card is always the focus, whether you pre-selected it or it fell naturally. Either way, it is the focus. Every card touches it. Every card is surrounding it. Okay? And the final card is where the story ends. But we read it in conjunction with the cards that touch it within the context of the story provided by all the cards. So in other words, just because your final card is favorable for the question isn't a guarantee of an overall favorable answer, because you could have a very favorable card here and the rest of these cards could all be unfavorable. All right? So you have to read the entire spread. Don't just jump to this last card. All right, now space 7 is an interesting one because just as with Lenormand, I call it the hidden issue because the flow of energy is sort of bypassing it. Remember I said the flow of energy, left to right, top to bottom, which makes it going like this. This is kind of like that little pool of water that's just swirling in a circle on the edge of a stream where the flow is steadily moving over here, but this is kind of like just going like this. Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do is link a couple of the Lenormand box spread videos in the description box below in case you haven't seen them, and then you will better understand what I am talking about. All right. So the procedure for this game. The whole idea is I want to get my right brain involved in this reading as much as possible. Therefore, I don't want to have to stop and think about any rules, which of course activates my already active left brain. So I want to enter into the reading with an understanding of the card meanings and positions already secure in my head, okay? So that gives my left brain something to do, but it's not engaging my left brain, all right? So you want to know what these cards mean first, okay? And you want to know what your position meanings are, which I just described. So now let's get to the card meanings. All right, so we have short illness is the first card. It refers to discomfort, weakness, restriction, blockage. Now remember, I am not describing what these cards mean so much as some of these are definitely people, right? I'm tying them into the context. The context is what is she thinking about? Yes, she could be thinking about people, but I already see a topic here. Do you already see the topic? I'll get to it in a second. Okay. Here we have the second card is gaining a lot of money. All right, I call this the win big card. It's the card of abundance and financial gain and obtaining a lot of money, especially suddenly, like through gambling, right? It's material increase, chances to increase value, enrichment, all of that. All right, the third card is sad news. It's the card of disappointment, psychological issues, because it falls right above her head for sure. But it shows worries. It's basically just what it says. The card of bad news. Sad news, bad news. All right. The fourth card is Rich Girl, also called Privileged Lady in some decks. Or is that this one? No, I think that's this one. Privileged Lady. Okay, we're just going to call it Rich Girl. All right. Just go with whatever it's called on your deck, but no matter what it's called on your deck, it still means the same thing. All right, it represents living a good life, all right, enjoying life, being lucky and carefree. Then this is my pre-selected focus card. The sixth card that fell just happened to be the Seeker's card. Our hidden issue, our seventh card, is the card of expectation. Now, what does that word mean? This is an important card here. It's a strong belief that something will happen or will be achieved or will be the case in the future. This card relates to waiting, patience, desire, anticipation. and something that seems to be taking a while. In other words, I mean, look at the dog. He's like, well, I can't go and get my bone myself. I have to wait for my master to come home, but he always comes home. Every day he comes home and he always has the bone, so I'm just going to lay here and wait. I'm anticipating, all right? And that's what that card means. Okay, now, let's just stop for 1 second and consider the difference between what this card means falling behind the seeker or if it fell ahead. Right? This will, I think, hone in on that inauspicious, auspicious meaning. All right, so expectation, expecting to achieve something. What does it mean when it's falling behind? Well, is she putting too much energy into waiting around for something rather than, you know, saying I'm going to act on this? Or is she anticipating unfavorable things? Or does she really not expect to achieve something? Remember, these things require more effort, right? She's expecting, but she's also at the same time thinking, yeah, you know, I'm pretty sure this is going to happen, but it's going to be hard. I just could see that she's shooting herself in the foot. She really is. All right, whereas if that fell ahead of her, she'd be moving toward it. She'd be actively anticipating good things. It would be easier, right? Think of this as more effort. This would be easier, less effort, right? This is definitely a card you'd want to see ahead of the seeker, isn't it? All right, let's get back to it. Okay, the 8th card that fell is the Good Lady, also called Mature Woman. And when it's not a person, it refers to support, motherly traits, maturity, or something that needs more time to develop, more time to come to fruition or to thrive. And this is very important in this reading. Okay, and the final card is a long way. And in this context especially, it's the card of a long period of time, something that's slow to develop, the long road to something, long-term plans, or a long distance. Right? Okay. I know so many of you Lenormand readers are already thinking of the Lenormand cards that are similar, right? Yeah, I do it all the time. Okay, so what story did my right brain immediately give me? Well, the first thing I wanted to do is I'm asking about what is she thinking about, so I wanted to look for the topic, the theme. It's obviously money. It sits right above the thoughts card. Gaining a lot of money, but we also have a rich girl and good lady, mature woman, right? They all kind of have a connection to money. All right, so I saw that Hannah was focused on money, and not just how to earn more of it, like how to get a raise at work, but she seems to be thinking of how and when and why she hasn't hit it big yet. Why is this taking so long? I can see that she's taking the long road to manifesting all that she wants due to her constant focus. What's she focusing on? What's she thinking about? She's constantly focusing on the negative. Oh man, the news says the economy is bad. Everybody's dying. This and it's hard. Business, yeah, the economy. I don't know. She's okay. If you want to just tie it specifically to news, well, that's killing the manifestation, right? And that's saying, well, the economy's bad right now, says the news, so I'm still a long way from where I want to be. All right, let's look at the first column. We have weakness and restriction weighing on her belief and desire to be living a more fun-filled and carefree life. Okay, she mirrors the rich girl who's behind her back, which leads me to believe that her thinking regarding money is a bit immature and careless, right? This is the card of living a carefree life. It's in an inauspicious position, so now I'm turning carefree to careless, all right? Okay, but she remains patient and hopeful, but she, at the same time, she connects those feelings to her current reality, which involves a lot of blocked luck, or so she thinks. Always bring it back to your theme. This is not asking what's going on in Hannah's life right now. This is asking, what is Hannah thinking? This is how she's seeing it. This is not necessarily reality, okay? This is the reality in her head. That's it. All right, so yeah. Now the central column gives us the theme of winning big, and it's mirroring or weighing on the mature woman card. And my first thought was that she doesn't really expect to hit it big now, but constantly thinks of not becoming affluent until she's older. Possibly because she didn't start taking note of how her mother lived. She didn't start noticing that her mother was a wealthy woman until Hannah was an adult. Like when you're a kid, you don't see those things. You don't think about those things. But when Hannah was an adult and started looking at her own life and how she was living, then she started looking at her mother. And her mother by that time was older, right? So is Hannah subconsciously equating living a good life with being older? How many of you are doing that? Yeah. Okay, so I also asked her about gambling. Knowing Hannah as I do, I asked her if she plays the lottery. And I asked her about inheritance, because that's what these two cards made me think of. And she actually said, I'll have to give those things some thought. And she called me later that day. And she did explain that those things do tie into this. And she does see now that they are interfering with her manifestation attempts. And she was thrilled that this spread brought them to her attention so that she could address them and release those blocks. So this was a really good reading for Hannah. Okay, so the top row hit me as easy come, easy go, right? Here's win big, and then we have short illness and sad news flanking, right? So I was like, easy come, easy go. Also, I saw it as 1 step forward, 2 steps back. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Yeah. Now the bottom row, we already talked about the middle. The bottom row, which provides the foundational information, shows that she keeps waiting and hoping. This card also, the expectation card, also represents a middle-aged woman, which Hannah is right now. And I noted that because of the rich girl above represents a young woman, and the mature lady here represents an older woman. So we have middle-aged, young, older, all grouped in the corner here, right? Now the issue is here, this is Hannah right now. This is the her middle age, right? Heading into older age, but what is it leading to? A long way. Yeah. Long journey. She feels that her carefree days of being a young rich girl, which she was, she says, okay, are over. She's thinking, there's short illness, right? Well, those days, those carefree, fun, lucky days are gone. But she's still hopeful of becoming like her mom. But then she always ends up ending that thought with, but it's going to take a long time. All right, so if she continues to believe that manifesting her dreams will not happen now, they can't. She's literally blocking her manifesting with her thinking. The fact that the long way is the final card confirms that unless she changes her beliefs, getting what she wants will always be something out of her reach. As long as she believes this can't happen now, it can't. Okay. All right, so that's all I'm going to say about this spread. For those of you who want to practice your Kipper skills, go ahead and ask me questions or share your findings. There's a lot more here. You can knight these cards, and there's a lot more information within these cards. Also, if you just want to play this game, it is so much fun. Take any card system that you're drawn to work with today and play this game with a partner. I guarantee it'll be fun and enlightening for both of you. I think this would be a lot of fun to play with oracle cards. I think this is conducive to oracle cards, this kind of question. All right, now if you want to use the Grand Jeu Lenormand, which I did, try laying the significator card down, right? Place the seeker card down, and then lay a 3-card line and place it above the seeker's head to represent their thoughts. It's a perfect system for this kind of question. All right, so this game will strengthen your intuition and your understanding of how the cards relate to mental processes. It'll also show you just how psychic you really are, in that you're connecting telepathically to another's mind. Woo. All right, so have fun playing with this, and remember, oops, to keep your vibration high and your cards nearby. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.